Make very, very fun day. Now, you can all see a blue tip, the ground, right? That's in the middle, in the center of the. Can you see it? Yeah? Okay, stop it. Now, we're going to play a fun exercise. You know your right. Lift your left hand. God, you will live it completely. Okay. One. And your right hand. Yes, yes. So, we have to try to do the left side and the right side. So, I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and if you agree with the question, you can stand on the left side or on the right side. All right? So we're gonna all right, so which came first, the chicken or the egg? If you believe if it is the chicken, stand on the left side. If you believe if it is the egg, stand on the right side. Let's see, let's see. The chicken or the egg? You cannot stand in the middle. That's not the right answer. Yes? All right. So, fun fact actually, the egg was first discovered than the chicken million years ago. So, the people that stood on the right side are correct. Now, which came first to the island of Bonaire? A cruise boat or a commercial airplane? Let's see. If you believe it is the cruise boat, stand on your left. If you believe it is a commercial airplane, stay on the right. Now we got you all confused. Let's see if you remember that time. I believe the majority of us wasn't even born yet during that period, but let's see. So another fun fact is that KLM was the first airplane, commercial airplane, that came to the island in May in 1936. And who remembers the first cruise boat? Yes? No? No? No one? The first cruise boat, Beverly's Fort, came to the island for the first time in November of 1976. So the person that are standing on the right side are actually correct. So the airplane KLM came before the cruise boat. Now, this is your personal preference. Do you prefer coffee or tea? Let's see. All of my coffee lovers stand on the left, and all of my tea lovers stand on the right. All right. We have a lot of coffee lovers in here. That's good. That's good. Now, do you prefer summer or winter? Let's see. For summer, stand on the left. For winter, stand on the right. And we cannot be in between. Is it warm or cold, people? Warm or cold? All right. A lot of you love the summer. That's good. Yeah. Does the person sitting in the middle seat on an airplane get both armrests? Yes or no? Left for no, right for yes. You cannot stand in between. You have to choose a side. Choose a side, choose a side. A very good question, right? I can see it's 50-50 or maybe 60-40, but that's okay. When eating cereal, which goes into the bowl first? Cereal or milk? Stand on the left if it is cereal, stand on the right if it is milk. Ooh, okay, okay. A couple of you are a little bit cray cray, but that's okay. That's good, that's good. And now, would you rather travel to a new place or return to the same place for a new right? For the same place, stand on the right. All right, we have a lot of adventurers with us here today. That's good. That's good. And now, the last question. Would you rather have or more money for more time than on the left? More money on the right. All right, people. Give them a The I'm gonna put this on version 10. Okay. Okay, so before we do that, I am also gonna introduce today something new that we have for you. That is our Bonaire box. It is placed right there next to Annette Emerenciana. And what this box is the place where you're gonna leave us your suggestions, your opinions, your questions. We want to hear it. We are ready for it. So during the breaks, or if you are walking around, please step by the Bonaire box and leave your opinions, suggestions, ideas. And we are going to start immediately with a video. We're gonna continue on. Thank you for watching the short. And we are going to start with a presentation by our Commissioner Clark Abraham. If you can please help me welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Now? Yeah? All right. Better. And normally they say I'm loud, but apparently I'm not loud enough. Yes, a very good morning. And actually, for me, I just want to interchange change with you guys. It's not the intention for me to steer an whole story. It's some ideas that we believe we look at, we should focus on, but I really want to have your feedback on what you guys think of it and where do we want to go or where we should go. First of all, from our perspective, this first slide is just to show what why Bonaire is unique and what makes Bonaire what Bonaire is. It's a very colorful slide, but this is actually what people come to Bonaire to look for, the identity of Bonaire. Because there's enough other islands, enough other destinations that people can visit. But why should they pick to come to Bonaire? And the question we should ask ourselves, are we proposing, offering enough of what makes us special? Concrete, blocks, air conditioning, you can get in many places. That doesn't really make it special. But what makes it special is our people, our culture, and how we embrace our visitors. Also, because of this, Bonaire in the past decade had a very privileged position. A lot of returning visitors. That's gold, right? Hopefully in your business, that's gold. You don't have to spend more money to get them back because they're already thinking to come. We have to watch out for every effort we make to grow, every effort we make to find something new, what we're doing to lose what we already have. Because what you have is already in your hands, right? There's the saying, better one bird in the hand than 10 in the air. And sometimes we're looking to all the other birds and we're forgetting what we have in our hand. And maybe we should invest more to retain what we have and not so much to focus on the possibilities beyond what we already have. In execution of our tourism strategy, our tourism policy, we have two government entities in focus. Next, of course, to the sector, two government entities. It's maybe good for us to sit still for a second to define what the roles are so you also know what you can expect from each partner in this. The public entity, the government of Bonaire, is in representation, and today you also got announcement that we have three island council members in the island in the room. Um, the public entity of Bonaire is a representation of the people. It's broad. There's elections. People have an idea. People have a voice. People have a choice. Democratic process. They choose, and they define what the policy is in benefit of the people. You might like it. You might not like it, but that's how democracy works. So the role of the public entity is to look at all interests on the island, balance them together, put the funds and the means available, execute them. Right now, actually, we're doing also budget processes. So everybody from the island council also a little bit tired because yesterday we had a whole meeting, among others, on the budget. Uh, It is to make laws, to make rules, to make policies, and also, like I said, finance them for execution. The Tourism Corporation Bonaire is a corporation at the moment, but the role of Tourism Corporation Bonaire is to execute this government policy stakeholders. The government focuses on the strategy. Tourism Corporation Bonaire is on the execution. This is very important for us day-to-day partners. TCB. That's what we work with daily. But sometimes we have to also put the attention to make sure that the policy of tourism is on par, so we know what we are executing. Right now, we have legislation from 2017 was stipulated, and we should ask ourselves if it's still up to date and should not revise it, because then at least we have a common vision and direction where we want to go. For us, we really want from the government of Bonaire to divert from just having a effort uh, 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 um, policy. So we're gonna market Bonaire, nice, of course. We're gonna make Bonaire more attractive for everybody. Good, but how do we measure it? So we really want to focus on what value we measure in our first voice leader. You can see there's a pretty the yeah, the first one is of course the way you it's a very difficult method for the because what's the name? The truth from God, the top is very difficult to that. It's not conspiracy. What we say is but let's really go to that for people like this. We cannot really what government, you know, but we're really we need to we're really possible for our and we need economic activity so people also have bread and food on it. So we should ask ourselves, how is the tourism that we're promoting benefiting at the end of the day the simple person down completely in Rincon, and how are we involving them in our product? Because product is not only from the room. The product of Bonaire is of the 25 inhabitants of 1,000 inhabitants of Bonaire. And they're also giving us the privilege to use their product, economic means. are we giving back as an so in our uh, uh, proposition towards the future, also with PCB, we want to focus that we can measure. So what's the average length that somebody is staying and how much they're spending per day when they're on the island? Two measurements that we can actually measure every effort that we do. What's the return? Because then for us, it's also very simple. We don't mind if budget we're putting into tourism is 2 million, 10 million, 20 million. If you show me for every dollar I put in, we have a return. Because I assume that we all agree just putting money in doesn't really do anything. We need to see what the return is of what we're investing because we can also make wrong investments at times. We can make investments that actually have an adverse effect on what we want to achieve. And based on the two, we can calculate, at least from government perspective, what is our return on investment? How much are we putting in? How much are we getting back in macroeconomic uh, um, development? Secondary to that, of course, for the stayover, it's important for all resorts to know, of course, what their RevPAR and their ADR is, to know how profitable they are with their business. But we need those numbers, and we need to work together to have those numbers for us to have and I heard it many times from PCB also, working data driven to know what you are doing and know what the results are of what the investment that you're making. But most important of all is of course the tourist experience, because without a good tourist experience, we will have none of these. Because that's what's going to make them stay longer, want to come back, and want to spend more. If there's any questions, I have absolutely no problem if you interrupt me and ask. I'm used to it. I'm in politics. So, like we started the first slide, what makes us unique? If we believe that we want to compete with other destinations, we'll never win. Bonaire can never be better in Aruba than being Aruba. We can never be better than Curacao in being Curacao. But nobody can beat us in being Bonaire. So are we focusing on what makes us unique, or are we trying to copy or become something that we're not? And we really have to watch out for that thin line because there's a slippery slope. The moment we lose our soul, we're gone. And actually, there is a biblical verse on that, trying to gain the world, yet losing your soul. And we should ask ourselves, are we not maybe on the brink of doing that? How many of our returning customers are not telling us like, Monaire is not what it used to be. I'm doubting if I'm gonna come back again after coming back 20 years in a row. And should we stand still and go like, wait, if you have a returning customer every month or every week buying a sandwich with you, and then suddenly you start saying, well, I'm starting to doubt that I want to come back. Are you not going to start thinking maybe my product changed? Maybe I'm not giving the service that I'm used to give? And we should pause at times. Yet, on the other hand, the opportunities we have are abound. We have many opportunities to offer. And the funny thing from Bonaire's perspective is most of the experiences we have to give are not investment heavy experiences. Our best experiences are just being us. During this school, you know, whatever was hungry, unspoiled, untogether. We do it just large. How people there untogether. Whatever is you choose you financial. People that drink, they told me we're going to where. Hollywood star and not be bothered walking freely on Bonaire? Where can you be a Dutch politician and Bonaire you feel that nobody actually even recognizes you or bothers you, while in Holland you cannot walk free around? So let's not lose what makes us unique and let's focus on the simple things in life because the simple things is what the rest of the world doesn't have to offer anymore or enough to offer. Oh yeah. Actually, what we want to ask you guys, there's a mentee meter apparently. Yeah. He's gonna help me, yeah. I'm not yeah. This is also new technology for me. You see that groups that manipulate survival. The order. We are 122. Many key phrases approach must be a normal here. It's a projected. Doesn't necessarily criminal skill. Maybe it's something that she created. These are pretty much also popping up. So, what we're going to do, look at that. But we should work on that now. One is you also one point. One is real. But we also do it. My work, because the document nothing on what please hear alone of the Lord of them. Let me know alone of them. We do it together. And we should work together. We can get the we get one. These people that we do have to work on and care. Just, 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 As government is that we want to focus on getting tourists here and for them to spend time and have expenditures here. We believe that maybe we should approach our whole approach on airlift should be maybe different. Let's focus on what is the expenditure on the island. Let's focus because it's maybe preferably that we collectively buy a quantity of seats on a plane and offer them to your customers because we're making money when the customer is here. We're making money when they're in your hotel, in your resort, taking your tour. So we should maybe approach our airlift in a form that we can measure also what is the added value that it's bringing us. What is the revenue it's bringing us? We do understand that the market sometimes is hard. We do understand sometimes that the airlines dictate the terms, but collectively we should start to look how can we start to dictate the terms on our needs. Because at the end of the day, we need visitors to stay in your establishments and make use of the tours that you are offering. Yes, Neat. Yeah. Um, Important is this is also for us to work together in the marketing efforts that we need to do going forward. But we really believe we should focus on as more as possible to make sure that they're staying at the resorts and making use of our products that we have here. For cruise tourism, we all know that in the past couple of years, there's been some pushback on the cruise tourism. We believe that there is much room to gain, much opportunities to gain also in better management of cruise tourism. In the sense, well, we believe in management, and we have this conversation sometimes, a lot of times actually with TCV, we're talking about many things. If we have two cruise ships coming in and we have 6,000 capacity and 5,000 people go off ship, right? And imagine it's 5,000 people on the island. But we only have 10 locations for them to go visit because we don't have any product. There's no beach. There's no place to bring them. If you divide 5,000 through 10, 500 is too much people for a good experience for anybody. So we should also work on our product. Make sure that we can disperse our visitors, not only in cruise, also in stayover, disperse them correctly on the island, and make sure also that we involve all parts of the island in our product. Why don't we work on creating a marché in Rincon that our tourists also can visit there and buy local products and goods in Antriol, in North Salinas? So let's create product that also the tourists are bring money in the pocket of the average pop and mom's house. We're going to do a luck study. It's not only focused on cruise tourism, but because of the discussions in cruise tourism, it's put under here. A luck study is the limits of acceptable change. Remember that, Ailey. Limits of acceptable change island-wide. So what do we, as the local community and everybody on the island, wants, accepts as the experience that tourism can have an effect on? We should do it island-wide, but we should also do it in, for example, certain areas which are in being threatened. For example, the Lac and Sorobong area, our national park. And the idea is, because you have two approaches, you can do it with the carrying capacity and the luck study. The idea is to have an idea, okay, how many tourists do we want without bringing our identity, our culture, our way of life, and our experience in trouble? The idea is, what is the optimum balance of staying us and receiving visitors? And it's something that we really should put some focus on. We should work on the cruise area to have it more organized and acceptable, and onshore experience. We should have more product and tours. That's something we're getting back from every visitor, that there's a lot of opportunity of things we can do that we're not doing yet. That we can have also our visitors stay longer on the island, which can give us more opportunity for economic experiences. At the end, are there any questions, complaints, comments, remarks, eggs, tomatoes? Yeah. 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 Yeah, and we agree with that, and that's why we agree with that, and that's why also when we do our marketing choices, we should make choices. For example, right now, Bonaire is also marketing a proven route, Amsterdam Bonaire. Why are we marketing Amsterdam Bonaire? We have 3 lines flying up there. There's $100,000 we can put right away into this. We have to make choices. Sadly enough, I don't have a tree with money in the back of my backyard. I'm looking for it, didn't find it yet. So we can spend.
Okay. So because we know what is coming in our economy, right? Thinking we have a difference in approach to what we're talking about. One, I'm talking about marketing and paradigm. On a Google route, there are 3 competitors. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about marketing in the narratives that was coming. Marketing and airline, getting airline marketing budget on the line that are currently 2 competitors, so we don't fight. So we actually gaining unfair competition. I think that's not really true, but because we saw already a decrease in the Dutch market the last year. So there is already a lack of demand in the Dutch market.
So what is the proposition then? And
Of course, you have 3 markets. I think at least I see 3 markets for this island. That's the US, the Netherlands, and Cuba.
so you're saying that airline is coming from the Netherlands is doing a bad business stage, doing marketing money, that's it. So they're still coming, but another one that's established, which should be paying marketing. I understand what this is for.
Yeah, I think in a business, you never it's never a good thing to only focus on one market. The same as here. The same as this island is doing. So I think it's very important to maintain the market to what you have, but that's maybe another question.
Not, not.
market Europe think that uh, they need to advertise money to market their fact. Once the market with money down this organization choose to turn on it.
That's awesome. Put in marketing the market. Yeah, but that's we have to make choices. We don't have an endless budget, and I agree with what you said about the macroeconomics. But you have to understand two things: the government of Bonaire has limited incomes from that macroeconomic development because the macroeconomic development goes to the government of Holland when they have this tax goes to Holland when you have more employees. Your occupancy growth, you have more revenue, you're getting more employees. Where is the return going? To the government of Holland. When you expand your hotel, where does the vatgoedbelasting go? To the government of Holland. When you have profit or you have dividends, where does the tax money go? To the government of Holland. So for us, it's not a circle that we're investing and the returns come back and we can invest more. What we have is the tourist tax. And the tourist tax right now is a fixed rate on people arriving, not on how long they're staying. So if we are focusing for them to stay longer, we don't see that return right away. That's why we want to adapt also the tourist tax. We have to have a better correlation between um, positive changes in our industry towards the incomes. We can invest more. But right now it's a stagnant. It's only amount of visitors that arrive and not so much how long they stay. And that we have to work on for the future so we can have more also to invest back into the sector.
Maybe tourists, you know, aquatics, what we apply to aquatics and global. Like you said, tourists will look for additional. Yeah, that's
Where the sun, try to make it big. 10 years ago, we didn't have direct flights to Bonaire. That was the main issue. People wouldn't come through here south because they will either miss their flight or delay, but we want to do direct flights. So the market started to put stakeholders sustain the American Airlines flight, right? Started on Saturday, stakeholders did a guarantee on that. Well, so they started additional flights Wednesday, Friday, and so forth. The important thing here is we have the direct flights. Finally. So how do we get people over here? They have to be aware of Bonaire. There's where the marketing budget comes in. We're talking about guarantee that has to be paid if the flights are empty. Of course, they're empty if there's no thing. No marketing, no prayer from Bonaire, no people to Bonaire. So instead of focusing on the government having the funds to pay for the species, let's reverse it.
Invest in the marketing so people are aware where the areas supplies can be built. That means that PCB needs more bandwidth. Correct. Yeah, you're very much in budget management. Because the budget, you know where it's going now. Basically, what are the budget doing now? What areas, what routes, what places? This is the question, and you should write to Mom. I know, that's why I'm saying it's not for because we have. I know, that's why I'm asking the question. More money to go. You should already know where it's going now. We already know where it's going, but it's not sufficient. It's but not creating. It's all of them. It's all. Yes, but it's not enough to create awareness. We are tapping into we are tapping into new direct markets for us. New York is a direct new market. People need to be aware. TCB has been doing campaigns on that with the flamingos flying, 120 flying flamingos in New York. It's not enough. We have awareness. New Jersey. I agree. Yeah. We should have one. And everything.
New strategies that we want to do. We Claire, we cannot do and we do not have the unlimited funds. We cannot do and. We have to make choices. And in that, we should look what is the best choice to make. And we agree, we need to put more funds. But we also make choices. How do we direct those funds and what are the markets that are interesting for us to direct them to?
Commissioner, round of applause. We are quickly going to go to a 2 minute digital break. So please remain in your seats and we will continue in 2 minutes. You can walk around. 2 minutes. Yeah.
No, c'est mes là, ça c'est notre Ah, ok. Non, bon. Mhm. C'est Mhm. 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 Correct. Bon. Yeah. Hey, ouais, ouais. Dat exact niks. Ja, dat exact niet. Ik kan wel, maar subtiel dat je kunt pakken wat ik zei. Nee, nooit. Oké, kom maar en steeds. Oh, ja. Doe het, hè? Maar ja, goed, dat doe je. Ja, Nothing to do by years. That's what that's.
And please take a seat. We are about to continue with the next presentation.
Usual. Yes. Okay. Mine would be good for you because we want to talk about the return on investment specifically. So good for your article. Grab the bag. So try to stay. It's in English, so I'll try my best to get. See if there's anything. Okay. Vamos más y la voz, también, ¿verdad? También, ¿no? Fine. Mhm. Like two.
2-minute break. We are about to continue with the next presentation. This presentation is going to be about the journeys we take together.
Testing.
This presentation is going to be by our CEO of Tourism Corporation Bonaire, Mr. Miles Mercera. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again, and it's a great to be part of the experience today with the Tourism Summit with all of you. As the ones who are walking in, I'll try to do a long introduction before we start. Just a joke. First of all, from my side, an applause for our talented young MC, our junior assistant. So thank you, Virgie. It's great to see our team members growing and also focusing on their passion, which is tourism. And today, in the journeys we take together, we're going to discuss exactly that. So, in the past few months, I think we've heard a lot of discussions on tourism, on investment, on what to do, what's next, if we have enough funding, discussions on why funding, discussions on ROI, discussions on what we did, how we are spending our limited funds that we have available. So today I'm going to try to take you on a journey. And the journey might have a couple of slides that might seem too long, but I want you to be part of the conversation with me to understand what it means that the tourism industry actually is. The tourism industry, at the end of the day, from our perspective, from a tourism board perspective, isn't just an investment and then everybody goes and makes money. It's more than that. And today we're going to take you on that journey on what it means to us and how we believe this affects our island on a positive way and how it affects in a different way as well on other matters of business. The first train of thought in the presentation for this morning from my side I want to talk about is how we see tourism. Tourism as a business, not as a social activity. The moment we start looking at it as from a business perspective, we start thinking differently about the results that it can achieve for our island. Especially, for example, where the commissioner talked about it is a business. So it clearly aligns that there is a feeling that we need to look at it from a business perspective. So the first thing I said, the past few years, we've always looked at tourism from this side. Sun, sand, beach, people walking around enjoying life. But I want us to be in the boardroom today. I want us to talk figures. I want us to talk data, talking about what is the actual impact of tourism and what it means for our island. And how, as me growing up on the island with 16 years old, got an opportunity to become a waiter in a restaurant on Bonaire, even working at Banana Tree at Plaza Resort, means and what it means to us as locals and all of you living on the island as well. So, with that concept of tourism is business, I also want to talk about the concept that before we get to the business, we need to make sure that we understand that the world is changing, ladies and gentlemen. The world is changing and our consumers are changing, and standing still isn't an option. We just talked about the first few slides in the icebreaker. Which one was the first cruise boat that came in and the first commercial airplane? Those times are different as well. We're talking about guarantees nowadays. We're talking about investments. We're talking about even having some propaganda in a newspaper is different nowadays. So as the world is changing, we need to do things differently as well in our approach. First of all, when we talk about the first cruise ship, the way we approach the cruise industry. When we talk about as well our first airport or the Flamingo Airport and how it got developed. Of course, we still want to see maybe the flamingos coming back once you arrive. But at the end of the day, we know that this picture will never come back. This sentiment of how it was and how easy it was to travel with liquid and all has changed. And I want to talk about the journey, even talking about the tourism industry, including our hotels on islands, including our product portfolio, because it's bigger than simply in that direction. So with this introduction, I want to talk about the new traveler. And I remember an exercise I did in school a couple of years ago, and we talked about how do you recognize a visitor? And people would always say, oh, they have like a nice colorful shirt, long socks, white socks, shorts, sunglasses, and a lot of sunscreen. Oftentimes, this is the typical picture that we say, aha, you are a visitor. But nowadays, as the world is changing, and especially the millennial travelers, we're not wearing those Hawaiian shirts to get off on a trip. we're doing something else. The way we experience a destination is also something else. So the movement of how we even position ourselves versus 40 years ago, 30 years ago, even 5 years ago is different, ladies and gentlemen. And today we want to talk about the research that we have done to understand how different should we be and how different that money will cost us for us to be able to achieve that different approach. So the world is demanding a different version of us, not from a cosmetics perspective, because we can also just grab a paint and then do something nice and be, oh, we are new. But it's really in our approach. Because we always say, even this nice hotel room or this nice building or a beautiful building, maybe at Captain Don's, which is a new tower that they have built, can be built anywhere in the world. It is not something unique only to the island of Bonaire. So our approach in positioning to share beyond what is outside of the corridors of this hotel room is in the approach on how we do it differently. And talking about progress and talking about changes, I want to look into the small peek into the future. And the future of travel is also changing. When we look at, for example, a question such as this, virtual reality and augmented reality are predicted to replace traditional travel experience. If I ask you this question, what would you say? Is it true or is it false? False, right? False. I am the industry for 100 years. I know what it is, and this is what's happening. Debatable. Another question we talk about, AI can be used to personalize travel itineraries by analyzing travelers' past behavior and preferences. True. That's firm. I think most of you use like a chat GPT, but it's more than that. That's 10% of what AI talks about. We also talk about the use of blockchain technology in the tourism industry, which is not only limited to cryptocurrency, things that we're not even discussing on the island of Bonaire to be able to accept as a payment method, as an investment method. We still talk about the old school, going to a bank and the banks don't believe in tourism and they charge us a high percentage. But do we actually think that in the next 10 years, the new generation is going to a bank for a loan? It's a whole different game. It's a whole different ball game, which we need to make sure that we understand to be ahead of. Another question. There are 24 flamingos on the island that lay golden eggs. True or false? True? Okay. Give me those flamingos. I think we can make a fortune. That's one. They're in New York. Yeah, they're still flying. Again, just as a brain teaser, because I do not want to force you to think about 2004, 2050, but I want us to think creatively that how this change will affect all of us and how we're going to prepare for it. So the main question we're going to answer today together is travel changing? And we can always say yes. But yes, based on what? Because what we do know, and which was the first question, that when we talk about augmented reality, when we talk about the future, this is what we're talking about. Visitors being able to experience a different destination without actually having to step a foot into a different plane or a different location. These are the challenges that the worlds around us are talking about. And we're still debating about $1 million or $2 million to invest. So once we understand that the world is moving, ladies and gentlemen, we're losing the momentum. And we're not losing momentum just because we have the guts that we want to be bigger. I'm talking about the unique perspective to remain authentic and unique in a different approach, in a different way on how we do things differently. And talking about augmented reality, when we look at this picture, I feel it looks like The Simpsons. It looks like something that I saw on cartoons when I was growing up, which I never thought that might be actually happening. But what I do know that travel is much more than that. Travel talks about this, emotions. Travel remains, whatever even technology comes in, travel remains at its core a emotional business. Emotional business where we're connecting with people around the world, talking about how we feel, talking about the way we feel when we get on the plane, how excited we are to be able to check in and go to the bar and drink that first pina colada. That, at the end of the day, is travel. Sharing unique experiences where we touch our human soul. Because the robot machines, we see that. That's you when you're working. But we travel to be able to get to these types of emotions that we normally don't get. The same technology, when we talk about the future in the medical industry, is something completely different. In the medical industry, we don't talk about emotions or maybe a feeling. We talk about being precise. We need to make an operation and we need to make sure that this person survives. So in that industry, yes, we're using those technologies to be able to justify and manage, calculate precisely of what we're doing. But in the tourism industry, it still remains that we're only focusing on the emotions, which is the core of who we are, the core of what we're trying to be able to establish and experience with the world. So if we understand all of this and that we say, well, we agree that the world is changing, we need to understand that our consumers, the way we find out about Bonaire is also changing. I remember if you asked me, maybe when I was young, I was like, we were going to Disney World every summer. I was like, why, Mama Nagrandi? Why are we going to Disney World in Orlando every year? Oh, yes, we have timeshare. We have to go. We bought a week number 39, and we have to go every year. It's like, Mama, really? The whole timeshare concept is almost gone. Do you think your children would like to be in the same location, the same bed, the same place every year, same buffet station every year? No. It's nice as an experience because there's more to explore. So keep having those rules in the game of tourism, time sharing, forcing people in a different way. Times are changing. And when we talk about the way people travel, people are finding us based on what they see online, based on who talks about you, based on what they experience. Now, to be online, you can do two things. You can just do a nice post. Bonaire set is beautiful, and you get 2 likes, maybe. I don't believe someone in Boston, Michigan will reach out and say, oh, I saw Leute posting a beautiful sunset on his personal account for 2 likes, and I'm going to Bonaire. The person sitting in Boston or Michigan or whatever needs to be introduced with Bonaire brand, needs to be recognizing us in different platforms. And nowadays, it's paid. Doesn't go automatically, doesn't go just because we have Chrisley and she can make nice videos and then the world knows about us. It is a paid engine way to be able to reach a type of consumer that we select. And when we talk about this, I'm talking about the way we do business. 10 years ago, we were still going to a burs and then you're standing and you get a flyer. Welcome to Bonaire. This is Bonaire. I'm asking you, which one of you, for you to be able to travel, is going to such an event around the world and that's standing in line to be informed about a destination? Yes, this was relevant a few years ago. Yes, this is still relevant for certain demographics in certain markets, for certain groups. But is this relevant for the next 15 years of our tourism investment? No. This is not where we're going to get our business. This is not where we're going to see the fruits of our labor, of our limited investment to be able to conquer, to inspire. So, talking about this, we said, what do we need to do differently as a tourism board to be able to conquer and have a different messaging and have a different approach in reaching a certain audience that we would want to see back here on our island? We're not talking about mass tourism. We're not talking about just getting people from all over. We're getting the right type of traveler that fits with our unique identity, that fits and respects our souls and who we are as a destination. So from that perspective, I want to talk about the next chapter, the future. This is again a base of understanding that for us to be able to talk about technology and talk about everything we see in the world, we need to prepare ourselves. And knowing that we need to prepare ourselves, we did our homework internally. Because we know that the moment that we are ready to start investing, we need to make sure who those clients are. Who are they? So the future of tourism and our target audience is the main purpose of our research that we have done in the past 2.5 years. Is understanding who are those people around the world that are willing to pay an additional investment, an additional stopover sometimes to be able to reach us. The same research talks about that most of the time, because we all did a discussion in the morning, is time or money more valuable? Time, ladies and gentlemen, is something that's very scarce. People are not willing to lose 8-9 hours to get to a destination as a layover. So that means that we need to make sure that we are accessible as well to the world. Otherwise, you are losing as well a specific type of customer. Because we're valuing time in today's world much more than in the past. So all of this research is done on understanding the data. We have identified, based on focus groups, based on research, based on tendencies and putting things in front of our audiences, the right traveler that will choose the island of Bonaire that fits within our umbrella of who we are. And we're going to share with you just some highlights because we can share the document. It's a 40-page document. You can read at home, understand who they are. But we're talking about the global citizen. And this is a US market affluent travel exercise that we have invested in to understand who these people are. We're talking about, for example, the US market, an affluent American with high interest in seeing the world. They desire to use their means for experiences and explore how their personal values come to life in other destinations. Values. Talking about our global citizen displays various interests and styles, and we have identified them. The global citizen, yes, the market, is about 23% of the population of the US, which represents about 58 million potentials. Now, we're not talking about getting 58 million people to the island of Bonaire, but we're talking about targeting these travelers that have 4 different venues. One of them is the environmental seeker. One of them is the enthusiastic doer. One of them is the luxury rejecter. And one of them is the seasoned learner. They're all fitting within the umbrella of being a global citizen, but this is the population size of each of these smaller audiences within the global citizen audience perspective. And we don't have the time to go in depth into all of them, but I'm going to show you how far we have come to understanding who these people are. With, for example, let's take into the first one, which is the luxury rejecter. We always talk about, oh yes, but Bonaire is different. Yes, we are different. But at the end of the day, travel has a pattern that is consistent. People are looking for something specifically. The luxury rejecter that we're talking about talks about a person, a type of affluent American, which represents about 40 million in population. They like nice things. They have everything in the world. They have the money. Their kids are already over 18. They're 45 years of older. We know which graduation certificates they have. We understand their household income. We know where they're living in the US by zip code in the East area. We know who they are. We're even so optimistic that we have understood what drives their romantic decisions, what drives their trust in others. We understand that the luxury rejecter is the type of traveler who has everything, who has seen everything in the world, who has stayed in the biggest Ritz-Carlton in the world, but they still now at the phase in life, they're rejecting all of those commodities. They're rejecting of drinking Moët the whole day. They want to be unknown. For example, like the commissioner mentioned, people come to the island of Bonaire, and because they can walk around to be unknown, people will not bother them. People will not try to braid their hair. People will not try to sell them a bottle of water. It is being in your independent self and understanding who they are. We also know that the luxury rejecter, we even know in our research what they're looking for in terms of their travel behaviors. And we also know that the luxury rejection, which media consumption they are working on. For example, their top apps that are used on their phone by category. We know which paid streaming devices they're using by category. We understand their top TV networks, Golf Channel, CNBC, NHL Network. It's not Fox TV. So we know in our decision making, once we make an advertisement, which channels to choose. We even know as well their social media membership. Are they using LinkedIn? None of the above. What? How many hours these people are spending online. So wherever I hear the topic about, yes, the plans and where are they and who are these people, we know who these people are. We know where they're living. For the past few years, we have invested our souls and energy to understand who these people are. And these are the travelers that we know, as an example from the US market, that fits within our definition of being authentic and who we are as a destination. And we can go on and talk about the environmental seeker, which I know Snapper would love to understand who the people are, where are they going, how active are they, where are they spending their money, how old are they, what captions do they use. It's also part of being its own nature, the type of traveler that is outdoors, that wants to be outdoor, that doesn't only lay on the beach the whole day, which is nice as well, but really is a participant, active participant in the things that we do on islands. Again, as a note, all of you will receive a presentation later this week with all the information so you can use as well in your marketing program. And we can talk about hours about the audience segmentation. But based on the audience segmentation, what does it mean for us? What does it mean for the tourism board? What we did is talking about, okay, the first step of idea, and I know, for example, our colleagues, they love data. They always challenge me in understanding the data. The first step that we did was, let's invest in understanding who these people are. The second step, let's create a new approach to reach this target audience. So today I'm going to share as well just a few slides on looking back on how far we have come to reach this target audience. It is a process, and in Pamento they say senshi. It's a consistent commitment of investment of our energies to be able to develop this market. Talking about, for example, the new JetBlue flight, which is a whole new market, which is not your traditional market that we have seen in the past. Some people say, oh, it's the same area. New York, JFK is the same. Two different worlds, two different clienteles, two different airports, even though they may be an hour to two apart. But those are two different audiences that we're speaking to in this. So let's look on how far we have come. In the past 3.5 years, we have invested our time and energy understanding our approach in the past wasn't speaking to the new traveler in 2024 and beyond. That's why when we're competing with the destinations in our region, we have clearly visited the exercise of understanding our positioning. Not only a logo, but our positioning and understanding how do we transform and become more of a sexier brand that speaks to the audience that we have talked about in our audience segmentation. And we have done the exercise of moving that transition. We have invested in the past few years in our online positioning, the way we position from a older tourismbonaire.com to a bonaireisland.com. If you've asked me today, I would say we would love to be on bonaire.com, but that's a whole different conversation. But talking about how far we have come, going from the past to the new, and those all with the same idea in mind to be able to speak to the new audience that we know is the audience that will come to the island of Bonaire for the future. Similar to this, when we look at our building, we're not talking about just having a nice fancy building with a new lick of fat. We're talking about our approach, the way we work as a tourism board for the future. How professional should we be? How engaging should we be? How open should we be with our stakeholders as a different approach to be as open as possible, as transparent as possible, because we can do the marketing, but we need to make sure that the private sector is aligned with us. That's why we introduce and share our plans every year with all of you, because our approach is differently. Some of you might think it's only a building change, but it's also a mentality change on how we do business, the way we do business, and how we move forward. And when I look at the building, this talks about the new positioning of the island for the future. The way we do business and our approach is also different. We also talk about the way we inform and talk with our visitors, the role of the whole visitors information center, the role of our infrastructure, and the importance of what it means for the islands. The role of understanding that our visitors are also claiming a better product portfolio. Infrastructure is very, very, very important. So we cannot assume that our visitors will pay $75 and walk into a certain toilet that we rent for $10 a day. We need to make sure that we put in something that is unique into the value that we believe our brand is. Similar to what we're moving forward to, way we positioning ourselves in external factors in Amsterdam or in New York, or the way we position ourselves on people finding us. These are all creative ways which are linked to the same positioning, trying to reach a different audience segmentation, to reach a certain goal, to reach a certain agenda, to reach a certain decision-making process, and changing the consumer behavior on how they see us, on how they position ourselves, and how they choose and select Bonaire as a positioning or as a island to be involved in. And I wanted to look back on that because not all of you might always be informed. I remember hearing as well conversations yesterday in the Eilandsraad talking about even not only the entire government, the islands are not being informed on every step that we have taken in the past few years. Not every step that we have dived into. The data and the plans are there, ladies and gentlemen. And I want to talk about the actions for the next 3 years. Because yes, we can look back of the things that we have done, but what is important and what are the things that we need to look into for the next chapter of the tourism industry? We're talking about the role of the tourism board, not only in the way our approach is, but also as an authority, public and private. Discussions such as today of yes, if the private sector is involved, yes or nay, yes, our approach is to involve, but structurally in our decision making, we need to make sure as well that the private sector is also involved in that perspective. Talking about the new MMO, talking about a role that the tourism board should not only be seen as a marketing organization, but also an organization that talks about natural resource management, talks about in collaboration with cultural heritage management, talks about an organization that includes tourism infrastructure management. We're not talking about building new roads, that's not our responsibility, but we're talking about all the public areas, public beaches where the visitors are part of, that we need to be able to share that we're managing. From a Wi-Fi at the beach to maybe a chair at the beach to cleaning up the area, there needs to be some empowerment and organization responsible for it. Otherwise, we keep it as is. Every year we get called, this road, Timopi Rama, it needs to be cut. Who's going to do it? Who's responsible? Every year when we look at the boulevard, Opi Mata Crece, who's going to do it? Conscious investment in our infrastructure is not only what we see, but also the way we manage. And our organization, on a yearly basis, we deliver all plans at the end of the year to the government island council to be able to know what we're doing. We provide the plans every year for the full year and for the next 3 years. Or BC, as they say, Bestuurs College. Executive Council. Thank you, Daisy, for the connectation. So the 3-year action plan developed by our tourism board together with our stakeholders, are presented, are shared, and are also public to share. But what I know that has been lacking in the past few years is taking decisions. Taking decisions on an approach that is different and allowing your tourism authority to be able to develop in that area. And we need to talk about collaboration and trust. One of the things that I always recognize in the island of Bonaire, which is the most beautiful paradise, that oftentimes even in this room that we do not trust each other. We do not trust that we all have the same goal, the same agenda. We're always talking about collaboration, but at the end, the moment things get rough, we see kickers starting to jump out and people start to panic because there is no trust in the process. We have the tourism master plan from 2017 up to 2027, and we're now discussing in the middle if it is a good plan or not. We have an approach, we have an agenda, but still we're not trying to commit ourselves to a certain collaboration, to a certain direction. And the question that I always get, especially when we talk about the big term politicians, who owns the tourism industry? Who is the one benefiting from the tourism industry? And I want to talk about that because there is a stigma that the tourism industry is owned only by this Dutchman that comes in and is only making the money. We only talk about the man in the suit that invests and all the money goes to them. I even heard on the radio once people say, Turisenta Bulabay. Like it's like the money is flying, have their own wings, and they fly away to New York or to Amsterdam. There's no money left in tourism on the island of Bonaire, which is a perception that we're cultivating, becoming a reality, that we're getting the stigma, the negativity around the tourism industry. And I'm talking about real people talking about how perception, which is not a reality, how we see tourism industry. And we need to understand that the tourism industry, it's about these people, workers, the people who depend on it. Bonaireano now on the island, either born here or from abroad, living on the island, but the moment that you are registered on the island, you are part of the Bonairean community. Those are our people who benefit the greatest, but our economy also benefits the greatest. And oftentimes, when we talk about it, and we talked about it in the beginning, we said, yes, that's a nice verhaal, and that's very positive, and you're always positive. But I said, okay, let's challenge ourselves and look at it from a business perspective. At the beginning, remember our slide, we said we're going to talk about not from the fluffy, but actual measurement to understand what tourism is. I'm going to do exactly that in the next couple of slides. Investment in tourism and what are our KPIs? How do we actually measure the success of tourism? And we've identified a few in your own polls: average spend, average daily rate, number of airplanes, amount of jobs, whatever KPI you can think of, we have it in our organization. The only question is, are we using these KPIs to actually make decisions? Or are we letting perception and emotions dictate our directions into understanding what the tourism industry is? And I'm going to share a majority of these KPIs with all of you. Marketing ratio. We know by count what it costs us to get a US traveler or a Dutch traveler specifically to the island of Bonaire. For example, the US market will cost us about $9 in marketing investment per year per passenger to be able to get. So when we look at it from very creatively, if you're charging a visitor $75, it costs us $9 to get into the island, but you're getting $75 directly back. But we will get to that discussion later on. For a Dutch visitor, it costs us about $2. And people will say, oh, that's a big difference because it's a different market. It's more of a market that has a strong connection to the island of Bonaire. It also is tour operator driven, not heavily driven as a host of, let's say, independent markets such as the US market. But these are the data and what it tells us of the amount of visitors. But talking about KPIs, I'm going to share about 8 today with all of you. We're talking about the first one. Our key performance indicator number 1 of this year is attracting 100,000 stayover visitors for the island of Bonaire. KPI number 1. When we look at that, we said this is based, not because Miles thought so, this is based on the strategic master plan. The master plan talks about by year 2027, we would need to reach a total of 200,000 visitors. So that means 60,000 visitors additionally to the island within a span of 10 years between 2017 to 2027. That means in 2024, which is 3 years before 2027, we need to reach 180,000 to be able to be on the same path based on the plan of the future. The question is, where are we today? We know that last year we have welcomed 170,000 visitors. This year, until yesterday, we have welcomed 129,000 visitors in 2024 year to date. That means we have 3 months more to go. The question is, will we reach the 180,000 KPI, which is our first indicator, by the end of the year? Yes, from our positioning, yes, we will reach that amount by the end of the year based on the current flow trajectory. We also know where people are staying. Number of visitors, the 129,000 people, where are they staying? 43% in our hotels, 22% in others, owned property about 5%, apartments about 12%. We know as well their purpose of visit, vacation, diving, business. We also know as well their type of visitors. Where are they coming from? Of the 129,000, 45% came from the Netherlands and about 25 to 28% from the US market. Data. KPI number 2. We also have in KPI as an organization achieve a year-on-year percentage increase of 5% in tourism expenditure, which includes accommodation, dining, and activities. 5%. So our goal is, as a tourism board, with the sector, to increase spending on the island in these 4 outlets. How are we doing for that? We look at the expenditure. The US clientele spends $301 a day on the island of Bonaire. So our goal by the end of the year is to increase it with 5%. The same question when we talk about the Dutch market, they're spending $160 a day on the island of Bonaire. Our goal is to increase that with 5% for the future by the end of the year. By the end of the year, we develop new KPIs for the next year based on the performance of this year. This is what the tourism board is also looking at in our board meetings every 3 months. Miles, how you're doing with your KPIs? Are we far beyond that? Yes, no. Similar to key performance indicator number 3, attain a score of 9 based on visitor satisfaction surveys measured by quality, expectations, cleanliness, and overall experience. This is the KPI when we want to reach 9. The results, where are we today? In terms of overall stay experience, we are at 9.1. How likely they recommend Bonaire to a colleague? 9.3. How likely is what you would revisit Bonaire? 9.1 or 9.1. How likely are you able to share this on social media? 75. Room of improvement on this side. But it also has to do with our audience segmentation. Remember that our clients are not online. They're not the one only promoting to share it with the world. They have everything in the world. So people don't need to know that they're on the island. So it's also a perspective of the audience that we're getting that influences these numbers. KPI number 4, maintain a repeat visitors rate above 50% and the likelihood to revisit before or above 8. When we look at our numbers, our repeat visitors are 55%. So we are reaching our targets by the end of the year that our visitors are stating that they are likely to repeat and come to Bonaire again. And currently our repeat visitors, about 55%, are new visitors, people who come in new to the island, is 45%. Will this change? Yes, because the market share is going to change by the end of the year with a JetBlue flight. New visitors will come in, which will make the 45% even bigger. Performance indicator number 5. In collaboration with the stakeholders, we want to create 5 new young entrepreneurs in the tourism industry of the island of Bonaire. The only discussion we have every day on the radio is, no ting lokal tatrada in turismo. They're only workers at the waiter, as a restaurant. We want to see them as owners of a business in the tourism industry. So what do we do with our KPIs? We've looked at the program and introduced, together with Bunghata and the Chamber of Commerce, the Bonaire Innovation Project, where we have scouted about almost 20 young professionals on the island of Bonaire to come up with the business idea, invest in that with about $10,000 to $15,000, and provide them the opportunity to come up with a business idea for the tourism industry, which is, for example, the land zip lining concept at what's it called again? Kunuku Life. Again, specific KPIs and how we get back more young entrepreneurs in the tourism industry. Key performance indicator number 6, support a minimum per year 10 local Bonairean students to pursue studies in the tourism industry, paid for. Not only provide how sexy the tourism industry is, providing them the money to be able to go to their master's, their MBO, or their HBO for the tourism industry. What did we do? In the past 12 months, we have seen always a picture, students on a monthly basis being scouted, awarded with a full scholarship without having to pay the money back, only because they're choosing to study in the tourism industry. One in the Netherlands doing their master's, one in Curacao doing their HBO, and a few on the island of Bonaire doing the MBO. Again, facilitating them to be able to be part of the tourism industry on the island of Bonaire. Our key performance indicator number 7 talks about achieving a minimum of 12 activities, events throughout the year, community events throughout the year for the island of Bonaire. That's why when we have discussion, oh yeah, but TCB is like an event company. You're doing certain stuff in the barrios. You're doing let's say, Candado Criollo and those things. That's not because we believe it is only necessary. It is important to be able to cultivate the cultural heritage that we are proud of and make sure that the new generation comes up with new ideas, are able to be on a cruise ship. This is 100 kids that came on the cruise ship for the first time who have never seen a cruise ship before on their own, being on the cruise ship, talking about scavenger hunts, talking about recognizing our people in the barrios, for example, in Nikiboko. Again, people would say, but that's not marketing, but that's part of community involvement to be able to understand how we are, who we are as a destination to live up to this promise for the future. Similar to when we're talking about key performance indicator, execute and support 3 cultural preservation projects annually with the purpose to increase the percentage of 3% of what people are doing on the island of Bonaire. When we see, for example, in our streets, we're seeing our locals being part of it, with as well our elderly trying to sell stuff and trying to give away stuff to our visitors, making sure that they're part of the community, making sure as well that we are paying to get them out and being part of the tourism experience, because it's a balancing act of having it all in between. Similar to this, and making sure that these people get a chance to be part of the experience that we're trying to promote to the island of Bonaire. Another KPI talks about reach the target audience through marketing campaigns and convert to actual visitors. Because we can talk about marketing, but does it actually convert in bookings for the island of Bonaire? We're not only doing a big brand and saying, oh, come to Bonaire. No, we're measuring it in our daily dashboard, where we know that for each dollar that we put in, what is the click rate and what is the actual booking rate and where people are booking. Is it on the website? Is it on a wholesaler's website? So that's why we know exactly who our partners are and where are they coming from and how are they doing. The next question then you would ask yourself, and I can go on with 20 more KPIs, but are the KPIs the only way to measure our tourism investments? And the question would likely be no, because it's much more than that. Then I want to talk about a different approach, the Bonaire's gross domestic product, which is something, the GDP, something that we all talk about, all economics in the room talk about, what it actually means for the island of Bonaire. For the ones who do not know what GDP is calculated by the spending. We add up everything by people, companies, and the government, the way we spend. We include as well our income, all of the money that people and companies earn, and we include our production, which is very limited on the island of Bonaire, the value of all the stuff made on island. That in total contributes to your GDP. By now, we know that the island economy's GDP is approximately 662 million US dollars per year, and this is based on the recent results by CBS, established not by TCB yesterday, of the island economy and how we are doing. We're always calculating these facts 1 year later. This is an increase of 8.8% compared to the year before. This GDP increase only came thanks to the growth in the tourism industry. So the tourism industry has a direct link on the growth of our island economy and our GDP. When we look at the index of our GDP, we look as well that for Bonaire in 2020, the moment that there was no tourism, our entire volume of GDP dropped. And only way it grew back again with 8.8 is thanks to the tourism industry of the island of Bonaire. And there is no other economy that substitutes this. So we know that Bonaire's tourism industry contributes directly about 40% to the total economy of the island of Bonaire. And I'm going to talk about a little bit deeper on this as well. So if we talk about 40%, what does it 40% mean? The tourism industry sector contributes about 265 million US dollars a year in the overall tourism economy, percent of the total GDP. Again, without that, a lot of offices on island will not be able to survive. The next question is then, what is our ROI? What is our return on investment, which we measure on a yearly basis as well? We know from our investments in tourism that for every dollar that we invest in the tourism industry, the return is approximately $132 in direct spending for Bonaire's economy. $132. So if you can imagine as a business person going to a bank and you tell them, I want a loan for $50 from a macro perspective for the tourism industry, you're getting that back more than once, more than twice, more than quadruple back in direct spending for the island of Bonaire. So with this dollar investment, we also know that these are all the economies that help the economy of the island of Bonaire. Recreatie, horeca is 40%. All others from the government, industry, or gezondheid en zorg and energie are less than 8% of our total economy. So the whole discussion about that, what is the ROI of tourism, the ROI is clear that there is no other option on the island of Bonaire than only this sector that brings in the amount of cash and money available to be able to survive as an industry. And there is no other industry on the island of Bonaire currently providing this. The same question when we talk about what if, because the whole discussion this morning was that we need more money. What if we invest 4.5 million per year directly in tourism instead of our current 2 million that we have invested for the past 2 decades? What if we just do something differently and invest something more? With an annual investment of 4.5 million in our tourism industry, our estimated GDP will go up to 701 million US dollar for the island of Bonaire directly per year, automatis, guaranteed. Once you invest 4.5, your GDP will go up to $701 million. That means a growth of 5% just because collectively we have taken the decision that we want to invest only 2.5 million more in the tourism industry. And automatically, from a macroeconomic perspective, you see it back in your business and in your ROI. And this is including everything on the island of Bonaire. Because at the end of the day, all those other sectors mentioned are also dependent on tourism. They're not silos and only sectors, the banking sector or the gezondheid store. They're also dependent on the tourism industry to be able to get those things flowing. So imagine what would it take us to only invest a little bit more. And then the question as usual comes, but if things are going so well and we have millions of dollars in our economy, why do we still need to invest more? Why are we talking about going from 2.5 to 4, from 2 to 4.5? I'm going to share with you just a quick example from Coca-Cola. Who drinks Coca-Cola? I see a few hands. Do you drink it because you saw an advertisement, or you drink it because it's a rule of thumb, it's automatis, and they always service? Why do you drink Coca-Cola? It is because they're so consistent in making sure that you remain part of their drinking culture. They're also innovating. They're also coming up with Coca-Cola Zero because there is a trend now to be more healthier, skinnier. There's also a trend now to be sustainable. So their bottles have changed to be sustainable bottles. They're doing that because they want to remain ahead of the competition. They want to remain active in the market. They cannot say just because you're drinking it anyways, people will come anyways, and then I'm going to stop marketing. You need to continue to invest to remain relevant in the market. So Coca-Cola is a clear example that the question that if things are going so well, why do we need to invest? And Coca-Cola is just an example as a product because we said we want to look at it from a business perspective. The same business perspective, from my perspective, I would say we need to invest as well because we have some opportunities down the line. We're talking about JetBlue, we're talking about Sun Country, we're talking about connecting the island with the world and us being less dependent on the other neighboring islands for transfer and passengers. I want to see locals traveling to New York for $150. I want to see my local people as well being able to go to Amsterdam for a vacation without having to pay a high amount of tariff. And that is possible based on more competition on the route. That's possible based on investment in the route to make it more sustainable. Doesn't go automatically. It is a combination of both of them. But we also know that more investment in tourism will help all of these topics. Poverty, making sure that there are more jobs available, making sure that we really invest in our population because the only economy is the tourism industry. And I know that I'm speaking to the choir, preaching to the choir, but I know as well we have some politicians in the room that I want for them to understand as well the importance of this journey and the importance of where we're moving forward to it. And I want to talk about the people to actually depend on it. The fishermen make money not because our locals are eating fish every day. We eat it maybe once a week. They're making money, it's because our restaurants are producing and they need the fish, fresh catch of the day. The fishermen, it's surviving, it's because of the restaurant's demand on pulling this in. If we as locals become maybe fishitarians, we start fish eating every day, then we can say we don't need tourism because we can only buy from our local fishermen. But they're also surviving based on the solely tourism industry. Talking about the approach, the tourism industry is also for the entertainment business. They're making money because they can do a nice song to a visitor. Not maybe they're working as a waiter, but they're all part of the tourism industry. Construction on the island isn't going good because locals are building more homes. It's because our hotels are investing. It's because the investments are coming in from a invest perspective to build new houses to be rented out, whatever it is. So we need to make sure that the ripple effect from the tourism industry is for the entire industry. Even for our friend at the gas station who smiles, who just told me last week that he got $20 from a visitor just because he helped him to fill up the gas because he didn't know how to work with the handle. Something very small that we think, oh, kung kahit akong try ng gasolina pa siya, also depends and benefits from the tourism industry on the island of Bonaire. So the whole perception and idea, we need to make sure that we're not only advocating it, but really looking at it from a tourism business perspective. And at the end, I would always say, ladies and gentlemen, tourism is always connected to all of us. We can look at it from an economic driver's perspective. We can look at it from an innovation perspective because we have the opportunity to innovate. We can look at it from an open and honest collaboration perspective. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that we're all part of this journey. And that's why the presentation title was called The Journeys We Take Together. But it's not an option to stand still. It's not an option to expect that our same resources of 10 years ago will give us the benefits for the next 10 years. And we need to make sure that growth is driven by our active participation together as an investment, and it's up to us. If not, I guarantee you, even if we don't do nothing, others will decide our future for us. And we're always talking about that we need to be authentic and we need to take control, and it's our island and we need to be more Bonaireans and we need to be in the forefront. If we do not step up and do something, others will decide our future for us. And I leave that thought for you to think about it in your break as we go along with this day. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Miles Mercera. Okay, so we are going to have a short 5-minute break. So please make sure that you are back in your seats in 5 minutes. And I will see you soon. Go.
Testing. Yeah. Testing one. Testing. 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 One, two, three. Yeah. Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you could all please take your seats, we are about to continue. After hearing such a beautiful presentation by Mr. Miles Mercera on the journeys that we take together, we are going to continue with a presentation on how to adopt the best practices in sustainability and hospitality experiences. This will be done by a man who led Eagle Beach property to be the first carbon neutral hotel in Aruba and who led Bukuti and Tara to be recommended in Forbes and acclaimed by Travel and Leisure and Condé Nast Traveler, and many more. So please help me welcome Mr. Ewalt Biemans.
How do I move this forward here? So I pressed here. No, she said to do it here. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very honored by your invitation to present today in place of my granddaughter, Crescencia, who was originally invited, who is traveling right now. She's in Argentina doing some promotion for a hotel. In this short presentation, I will describe the Bukuti and Tara journey from the opening days in 1987 to today. I was asked to talk a little bit about the journey to achieve what we call, or what you call, hospitality excellence. But first, I need to praise you, the island of Bonaire, as mental conservation years already. It is admirable, and please continue to do so. During the speech today, I heard the word conservation and nature several times. And in the end, it is nature what will move this island forward. So take care of it. This is a shot of the old Aruba of the 1960s and 70s. This is Palm Beach, where today there are only high-rise hotels and thousands of tourists any given day. In the 60s, after completing my high school, I worked in positions in fine restaurants and as a cook helper, as a waiter, bartender, and bar manager in Caracas. And I used to vacation in Aruba in the mid 60s of the past century and loved it for its wonderful beaches, the tranquility and safety of Aruba offered. I worked in Caracas and Georgetown, Guyana for Hilton and Intercontinental hotels at the time, and Aruba offered a respite from crime and noise and pollution. In the 60s, a new owner purchased the Coral Strand Hotel in Aruba, which is today called the Talk of the Town, in Oranjestad. In 1969, he engaged my services to open a new restaurant at the Strand. I moved to Aruba in the early 1970s, and with 2-year work permit, which was reviewed several times. And as you know, as you can see, I'm still there. In 1980s, I was managing and co-owned the Manchego Beach Hotel, and the opportunity opened for me to expand the resort by opening the Bukuti Beach Resort in 1987 with 63 rooms. In 2004, we added another 41 suites. At that time, the Dutch government offered loans to hoteliers to grow the tourism industry after the closing of the Exxon refinery in 1986. I inaugurated the Bukuti Beach Resort as a 4-star resort on October 19, 1987, the famous Black Monday, when the stock exchange crashed to a financial disaster. That day, I feared that my life savings and the years of hard work would go down the drain. And so with limited resources, we set out to make this venture a success. From day one, we made it a point to meet every guest personally on arrival and touching base with them during the stay and saying goodbye to them on their departure. That helped in solving service problems at the core rather than waiting for their reviews and hearing from them afterwards. So our customers also became our friends, and slowly we found our niche. Romance, peace, and tranquility, and personal service for adults. As a matter of fact, we became the first 100% adults-only hotel in the Caribbean. Over time, I realized that everyone in Aruba was fishing where the fish were, namely in the northeastern part of the United States, where the few flights originated at that time. Everybody competed in that marketplace. Early on, I already had laid the groundwork in Europe by attending ITB in the 1980s and the World Travel Market in 1983 in order to diversify the clientele base and not to have to compete in the areas of a handful of other hotels that we're already promoting in the Northeast. That paid off, and soon about 40% of our arrivals came from Europe. In the 1990s, we started our energy saving program due to the rising electric costs during the oil crisis. In the 90s, we had an energy crisis, and oil went from like $30 a barrel to about $100. I already had started solar water heating and experimented with CFL lighting and split air conditioning units to control energy consumption to control the costs a little bit. And so we tried to find our niche. I soon realized that everybody in the business in Aruba wanted to be everything to everybody. From individual travelers to groups, they wanted the honeymooners, they wanted a business traveler, and they wanted also to have the gamblers visiting. We decided we were going to concentrate on couples only. And since we offered little entertainment, and we took romance as a theme. As a small hotel, we could not afford a children's program. So we discouraged families and could not accommodate groups because of a limited space. So eventually, we became an adults-only resort. We recognized the need to focus on a specific market. Honeymooners, anniversaries, and couples wanted romance and peace and tranquility. Everyone else for entertainment, show, games, activities, and gambling. So we tried to orient our business to a certain niche in the market. We aimed at market diversification both in the US and catering to Europeans. In the 90s, I read about the Rio Conference by the United Nations and the rapid deterioration of nature by CO2 emissions, pollution, and waste. From that Rio Conference, a Green Globe entity arose, and that was to certify hotels in environmental sustainability. We joined Green Globe and certified as the first hotel as a Green Globe certified hotel in the late 90s. And we soon added ISO 9001 for quality and ISO 9014 to help to attract a specific type of guest. So our niches, or three pillars today, are romance. We cater to couples seeking a peaceful romantic getaway, typically honeymooners and milestone anniversaries. That's our business. The second pillar is wellness. We expanded our wellness program based on guest demand, including over 100 activities on and off property and packages for medical tourism. So at the moment in Aruba, there's a trend for certain medical, cosmetical procedures, and we actually cater to that segment of the market as well. And then our third leg is sustainability. Bukuti's commitment to sustainability, from energy saving initiatives to environmental certifications, shaped our reputation in that segment. We simply specialized on a very narrow market slice. We became very focused while everyone tried to be everything to everybody. My manager and I meet every customer on arrival, and now my granddaughter as well. We touch base daily with them, and on departure, we thank them and wish them a safe journey home and a speedy return. We have a special program for honeymooners. They receive a very nice amenity when they arrive, with champagne in the room, a nice beach bag, and some other goodies. And they're offered a wonderful program of outside activities that cater to that specific market, the honeymoon market. They are invited on Tuesday evenings at a sunset champagne party and introduce them to each other. Our milestone anniversaries receive a similar amenity, and they have a different program, of course, more catered to the empty nesters. Milestone anniversaries are usually the 25th or the 20th, 25th, 30th, and 35th anniversary. People that do different activities from the honeymooners. Our wellness customers are offered a full program of free activities and sessions by our two in-house wellness specialists. They do nothing but take care of our customers. We have a free program every day. And then we have that segment of the sustainability customer who enjoys our carbon neutral ambience, where we offer a variety of services and activities, from energy producing gym equipment to electric car transport to low impact activities like hikes, mountain bikes, and non-motorized activities. They love the fact that they had a carbon neutral, zero emission stay with us. In other words, they enjoyed a guilt-free, emission-free vacation while they stayed with us for a week or 2 weeks. We try to meet every guest at least 2 or 3 times during their stay, and we thank them for staying with us upon the departure. And so we arrive at our slides, at the slide where we show you the awards that we just recently got. We are number one of the 25 top hotels in the world by TripAdvisor. We're the number 3 in the Caribbean and number 1 in Aruba, and the number 1 hotel in honeymoons in Aruba. We've also been a number of times the number 1 hotel for romance in the world and number 1 hotel in the Caribbean for romance. And this slide provides you an overview of our occupancy. If you look back to 2006, we had a little dip in 2009 due to the economy. At that time, the economy crashed, and we also did some renovations. But from there on, you see a continuous over 94, 95% occupancy with a drop in 2020 because of COVID, of course, and back up to 97, 96, 97% occupancy. It is a result of our continuous, and I heard this during the presentation also, you're catering to repeat customers. You got to maintain your repeaters. We do over 70% of our business is repeat business. 70% of our business, we do not have to sell, go out and sell every day. Well, we continue to sell because if you don't promote, you will stand still eventually. Here you see a couple of slides of some of the publicity we garnered over the years. This is unpayable. This is millions and millions in advertising that we got for free due to either our environmental program or because of our awards in sustainability or awards in performance, in quality, and awards like with TripAdvisor and so forth. Our average, I said already, our average occupancy is of over 95% for the last 20 years. And then we also had two major awards from the WTTC, which is the World Travel and Tourism Corporation, and the United Nations for our award in climate action. And our environmental certifications, on the other hand, are proof that luxury and sustainability can go very, very good hand in hand, and they're not mutually exclusive. A lot of people believe that if they have a sustainable, environmentally friendly hotel, the customer will not choose it because they might feel that it is not luxurious. On the contrary, you can have a wonderful environmental program or conservation program and still be luxury. Or ADR at this moment is over $600 tonight. So it gives you an idea. And then we talk about energy. We recently found a product, a German product called MIG, and it is a coating for buildings, exterior and interior. And we coated one of our wings with that coating, and we painted the inside, the rooms with that special paint as well. And what it does is the outside reflects the heat and the inside reflects the cool. So the room remains cooler and the outside, the walls do not get warm. And that saved us another additional 15% in energy. We also have the largest private sector solar panel installation. We do solar heaters with heat pumps and solar panels for water. We have a strict temperature control, and I see you doing much the same here in Bonaire. Of course, we use all-around insulation. And we switched to VRF technology in air conditioning. Induction heating, of course, is the newest, and energy-saving appliances. We buy only the latest in equipment. And of course, we have over 400 best practices in operation. Water conservation, again, water is gold in Aruba, and I presume it's the same here in Bonaire. We have 15 water meters throughout the property, and we take daily readings. We know at any time if there's a leak anywhere or if there's a misuse of water anywhere. And so, and we also, of course, we recycle every drop of water from our sinks and showers and our laundry, and that is recycled and reused in our gardens. And we use, of course, indigenous plants that require very little water. And then we did a study over the years, and we were able to reduce our total waste by 65%. Now, I don't know what you pay in Bonaire, but in Aruba, every ton of waste is about 180 florins, about $100. We have about 5 tons of waste, or we used to produce about 5 tons of waste per week times $180. And we have reduced this over the years by 65%. Small little saving, but if you add it up, it makes all the difference in the world. Then we noticed about 2010, 11, 12, we noticed that our customers, we were serving American portions in our restaurants, and we noticed that our customers were returning about 20 to 30%. We had a lot of Europeans, they don't eat that much. And so a lot of food was going to waste. So we decided we reduce our food portions. We call them European portions or healthy portions. We reduced them by 30%. And nobody even noticed. But we reduced our waste going to the kitchen by about 25, 30%. And whatever waste we have now is picked up by a farmer in Aruba that has pigs and has other animals, and he feeds them that waste. And incidentally, food waste globally represents about 15% of the total CO2 emissions. If we could reduce global waste by 15% or by 10%, or total emissions in the world would decrease by the same amount. That already would be a very, very great help. We further reduced our food waste from buffets and from the employees' cafeteria by another 25 or 30% through the World Wildlife Federation study, and recycle every food scrap of local farmers, including my own little farm where I have chickens and ducks and turtles and so forth. And then we go to chemical products. We only use natural, organic, and non-toxic cleaning materials in the hotel. All of them are EPA and LEED approved and hospital-grade cleaning products. EPA approved and non-toxic pest control, and in some cases using all natural products. We also use, since COVID, a hospital-grade UVC technology for disinfecting the rooms. We still use it today. Every room is disinfected after the departure of one customer and ready and clean by UV lights for the next customer. Additional drinking water safety is taken care of by UVC radiation. In other words, Legionella control is an ongoing process with UVC. And then we use saltwater electrolysis in our pool and in our laundry. The other aspect of our sustainability, of our environmental sustainability program is stewardship and community outreach. We have an extensive program. We also the founders of Stimami Sterilizami. To give an information, in Aruba at that time, we had thousands of stray dogs everywhere. And over the last 7 years, we have spayed and neutered about 35 or 37,000 animals, actually. And it's an ongoing program, and we are sponsoring that in part. So we subsidize the spaying and neutering by 50%, and that makes it affordable for people to spay and neuter their animals. Then we have a monthly beach cleanup of about 1 kilometer. And we support Tortuga Aruba, which is an organization that takes care of the turtles that land on our beaches. And we also support the donkey sanctuary and the animal shelter. And then we support the Melderhof, which is a children's home with a Pack for a Purpose program. And then we have local arts and crafts, stimulating the local production of arts and crafts. And recently we founded the Bukutintara GMC Nature Preserve, which is about 12 acres, 12 hectares of pristine Aruba landscape in the middle of the city of North, close to the high-rise hotels. And that land is donated to the population of Aruba as a give back for me. And we are building now trails throughout the whole property. We have already 2.5 kilometers of trail built in, so people can actually jog or walk and enjoy a little bit of nature. Our next journey is net zero. We are carbon neutral at this moment, but our goal is to become net zero. We're pretty close already. We are at this moment working on phasing out all fossil fuels totally in the laundry. In the Elements kitchen, we still have a gas connection. We're going to close that down in the next coming weeks and install all induction heating units. Our water heaters are already shut off, and we're using a new system. And our pickup trucks will become electric, and the lawnmowers and the beach cleaner will also be. We just experimented with a beach cleaning machine, which is electric. And of course, we're going to start using biodiesel for the generators. Of course, buying renewable energy certificates is part of the other program, and taking part of the Bukuti building of the solar grid and reducing our consumption of fossil fuel electricity by another 40 to 55%. So, and then we're using the nature preserve as a carbon sink, because we are reforesting the area, and we are at this moment, there's a study ongoing by the University of Aruba to see how many credits we can create by replanting more trees in that nature preserve. And then we neutralize residual emissions by permanent carbon removal. And so my advice to you, the hoteliers in the room, invest in technology, invest in insulation, invest in products like the MIG product from Germany that is insulating, and invest in training your staff. It may not pay off immediately, but it will certainly pay off in intermediate and long term. We do not live from day to day. We live long term. And we think of the future and the future generations. And summing it up, here is what we do that we think makes us successful, or what you call excellence. Choose your market niche, choose your strengths, and build on it. Be present and meet every guest on arrival. And this does not only apply to hoteliers, but it also applies to shop owners or restaurant owners. Be there, meet your customers. Believe me, it works. We solve our issues before the guests depart. Instead of reading something bad about in a review, we solve it by giving them the opportunity to complain right there and then and fixing it. So you can make amends. We do our strength and weakness analytics very, very, very often. We build on our strengths and choose to work on what you are or what we are good at. We identify a niche or two or three that we are excelling at, and then expand into that niche. We do our PR campaign and promote your strength. We have a strong digital marketing campaign. I see you doing the same. We contact our guests by newsletter and email campaigns, and we get involved in others since we cannot do it alone. And we get involved with the local hotel association, and we're involved with the tourism board, and we're involved with the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. And we learn from each other. I personally travel a lot, and I learn from the mistakes of my fellow hoteliers, and I learn every day. Okay, I'm almost there. We get involved environmentally and we get certified. And our customers today are demanding a carbon-free environment. And we learn, and we keep on learning. We love what we do, and every single day. And if you do not love what you do, you will not be successful. And remember, if you love what you do, you will never work a day in your life. And so this is the end of my presentation. Masha, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please do not leave yet, because we have a special gift for you for coming all the way from Aruba to give us a wonderful presentation. We have this beautiful memory of Bonaire for you. Big round of applause, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah. That is very thoughtful. Thank you so much.
Very welcome. Okay, coming up, we have a presentation, the last presentation before the lunch break, so please bear with me. It is going to be from Stinapa, and they are going to present to us some information about ecotourism and sustainability. So please help me welcome Roxanne and Robert.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Almost good afternoon. I promise to keep it brief because I am sure everybody's just dying to get to lunch. My name is Roxanne Francisca. I am the Senior Conservation Manager for Stinapa Bonaire, and I am here today with my colleague Robert, who is our Communication and Education Manager. So, what I want to talk to you today is a concept called nature inclusive tourism. And specifically, when we're talking about finding a balance between how do we ensure that visitors can come and enjoy our beautiful nature while also protecting the same natural assets that are the driving force of tourism and therefore the driving force of our economy. So it's a brief introduction of what Stinapa does. We are the National Parks Authority of Bonaire, which means we manage two of Bonaire's protected areas. We manage the Washington Slagbaai National Park, which is the oldest protected area in the Dutch Caribbean. And we also manage the Bonaire National Marine Park, which is the oldest marine protected area in the Caribbean and one of the first globally. In addition to the park management activities we do, which include a lot of research and monitoring, of course, enforcement, we also have a very big education and outreach campaign where we have a school program. So every primary school student gets to see us at least once a year. We have the Junior Rangers program, which is an after-school program where we also take children aged 13 to 18 through an entire course to teach them a little bit more about nature and instill in them also a sense of wonder and appreciation for all of the beautiful nature we have on our island. And we have another smaller program, which is called the Tortuga Nandi Bonaire, so the Bonaire sea turtles, where we teach children ages 8 to 12 to snorkel. In addition to that, of course, we also do a lot of research and monitoring. So this morning, we heard a lot about KPIs when it comes to tourism and economy, but we have our own set of KPIs that we monitor, because this is how we are able to determine the health and the resilience of the same ecosystems we all depend on to earn our daily bread. So the Bonaire National Marine Park was first established in 1979, includes two Ramsar sites. So these are sites of international importance for biodiversity, one of them being Klein Bonaire and the other one being Lac. Also two sites that are, of course, very important when we talk about tourism, and also one of the reasons that we're very happy with the proposal of the public entity to do a limits of acceptable change study. Because what we are seeing is, of course, what I'm sure you are all also seeing, there is more demand for these beautiful beautiful nature areas, which puts more pressure on them. The ecosystems we manage in the Bonaire National Marine Park include, of course, seagrass beds and mangrove forests, actually the largest mangrove forest in the Dutch Caribbean, coral reefs, and of course the dry forest environment we have on Klein Bonaire. In the Washington Slagway Park, established in 1969, which is also a Ramsar site, so another site of international importance when it comes to biodiversity, particularly related to birds, we also have different types of ecosystems, tropical dry forests, caves, and of course the salinas, which are home to a variety of birds, including the iconic flamingos. So if we look at all of these ecosystems and all of the beautiful nature we have around us, one thing that has become increasingly clear for us as nature managers and conservationists is that the amount of pressure that is being put on those systems is ever increasing. We have to deal since 2018 with yearly sargassum influxes. We have had massive bleaching events, including one of the largest bleaching events in the history of the Caribbean just last year. And of course, we've had disease outbreaks. So all of these global challenges are only exacerbated when we also include on that the local stressors. So we all make use of the natural environment, but in doing so, we are also putting pressure on the natural environment. But does not necessarily need to be a bad thing, because more and more we're also seeing that these small local actions that we take can actually make the difference between whether an ecosystem thrives or whether an ecosystem goes extinct. So, to start, I would like to take you on a journey as the theme of today's presentation. I have been lucky enough in my life to be able to travel to many different places and explore different ecosystems, different cultures, and see how other places have also structured their tourism products. And I would like to tell you the story of Maya Bay in Thailand. So Maya Bay is this very small lagoon here, reminds me a little bit of Lac, that was very pristine, kind of undiscovered, sits in a national reserve in Thailand. And then what happens to a lot of those attractions we all want to visit these days is a movie was made. This movie was called The Beach. I think it premiered in the year 2000. It starred Leonardo DiCaprio, very big movie. And what happened? Demand for this area increased dramatically. Everybody saw it. Like Miles mentioned earlier, a lot of the visitors are changing, the tourists are changing. They want to go to places to have an experience. And what better experience to have than the one you've seen thousands, if not millions of other people also having already on Instagram. So demand for this beautiful little area, which was relatively unknown prior to the movie, increased dramatically. They went from receiving maybe a couple of hundred tourists per day to receiving receiving thousands of tourists per day, sometimes even upwards of 8,000 tourists. Now, keep in mind, the stretch of beach you see there is probably just a little bigger than No Name Beach on Klein Bonaire. So a massive amount of tourists in a very little area. What made this area unique and also important to the people that lived here was that it was a very diverse area. So high biodiversity, very high diversity of marine life. You could see sharks, you could see turtles, you could see whale sharks, which is also what attracted people to come to the area. And what they saw happening was that as more and more people started to come, the same reason people were visiting the area, that experience we all wanted of this pristine, isolated lagoon with white sandy beaches, started to disappear. You had massive overcrowding, people from all over coming every day, boats landing, trash being left on the beach. But the astounding facts aren't even the ones that you can see in these pictures. It's the ones that we can't see. Water quality in the lagoon declined dramatically. That crystal clear water that was the attraction for most people started to go away because we had massive pollution going into the bay, which resulted in algal blooms. So the clear, pristine water became murky, and in a matter of years, the coral cover in that area declined from upwards of 80%, which to put in context is higher than Bonaire used to have, to less than 8%. Now, of course, uh, being located in a national reserve, this is not what we wanted. But even for the tourism product that we were trying, or that they were trying to sell, this is not what the visitors wanted. People were coming here with, in the back of their head, they were going to be on this isolated, beautiful lagoon, and then they get there and there's trash everywhere, there's people everywhere, the water is no longer clear, the fish are gone, I can't see any sharks. Now, this does not mean that tourism in itself is inherently bad. As an organization, we also depend on tourism. Tourists are the ones that pay my salary because they're the ones that pay the nature fee. What we think needs to happen is that there needs to be a very good balance. And this is also what I have been hearing, not just Miles, but also Clark saying this morning. We need to decide which direction do we want to go? What kind of visitor do we want to attract? And then also realize that that means we need to manage the assets. So not only do we need to market and attract people, once they're here, we need to make sure that we can give them the experience they came here for. And that includes asset management. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, luckily, this story does have a very happy, well, it's getting to a happy ending. What Thailand did in 2018 was they closed this beach off completely. They said, there's too many people coming. We see the ecosystem is deteriorating. We're going to shut it down. This was, of course, helped by the pandemic because there weren't a lot of visitors coming in 2019 and 2020. And then they embarked on this massive campaign to recover the beach. So recover the ecosystem, to put stricter guidelines, to put in policies that were aimed at protecting these environments. What happened was between 2018 and 2022, the whole area was closed off. No visitors could come. It was only open to researchers and for rehabilitation. And then they reopened it in 2022. And when they reopened it in 2022, this is a picture actually from the first day that the beach was open again for visitors. They instituted some really, really strict guidelines. So right now you can go to the beach, but boats are no longer allowed to be on the beach. You can go into the water, but you cannot swim. So you cannot go into the water past your knees. You cannot smoke anywhere, you cannot bring any trash, and you cannot leave any trash. Now, these drastic measures, which are quite drastic because they're also infringing on the experience of the visitors, were absolutely necessary. And what the Thai government has also said is we will continue to monitor the situation, and if and when we need to, we will close this area again. And they actually just did. So it closed again in August of this year and will reopen again on October 1st. And this is because they recognize that when people are visiting an area, if we do not manage that properly, that will harm the area that we want people to visit. So even though tourism, which was very important for especially the people who lived in this area because it is a big economic driver, did bring a lot of affluence, did bring in a lot of money, at the end of the day, it was also costing us. And this is why we as an organization emphasize the need to manage the assets. So the reason people want to come here also means we need to protect it. So what does that mean when we talk about tourism and nature protection and conservation in the context of an island like Bonaire? What I think it means is that we need to have a paradigm shift. We need to change a little bit the way we think about the assets. We tend to think about nature as this endless renewable resource, and it doesn't matter what we do, it will be there tomorrow, it will be there the day after tomorrow. But unfortunately, that is no longer the reality we work in. Just like all of the physical assets you have for managing your business, your hotels, your cars, golf cars, scooters that need upkeep, need investment, so does nature. Nature needs us to give it a helping hand. So when we talk about tourism, especially when we're talking about tourists in protected areas, such as the ones we have in Bonaire, which are internationally recognized, that means there needs to be a little bit of a give and take. We need to recognize that the same thing that is giving us our daily bread, the thing that we use to make our money, by using it, we are shooting ourselves in the foot. So when we talk about a paradigm shift to nature inclusive tourism, I want to take you on a different journey. So the day before yesterday, I came back from Peru. Peru was amazing, took my breath away, literally and figuratively. I don't know if you've been to Peru, but the elevations are insane. And one of the things I really realized was even when I was there and looking at these incredibly beautiful landscapes and hearing about the history, the very rich history, the culture of the people, as soon as I talk to people about my island, guess where they want to go? They want to come here. They want to see what we see every day. but also what we're taking for granted every day. They live in these amazing environments with waterfalls and mountains and really rich histories. And what they want more than anything is to be able to come here and see our reefs, see our beaches. Of course, also see our flamingos. So what we need to realize when we're talking and marketing our island, because I don't think I've seen a single tourism operator that doesn't have pictures of the Bonaire National Marine Park on their website as a way to market the island, to market their business. What we need to realize is that that marketing, that asset, also requires upkeep. So, of course, I also took the opportunity to go cuddle some alpacas. Highly recommend if you get a chance. But so, what does nature inclusive tourism look like? We need to realize as an island that nature is the driving force behind our tourism. That means that we need to work on biodiversity conservation. We need to work on biodiversity enhancement. We have to involve local communities, and we need to have policies and legislation in place that enable us to do this. And I truly believe that this can be a win-win for everybody. It doesn't have to be, like Miles said, we all want to collaborate. We're all working towards the same goal. I want Bonaire to be prosperous. I want Bonaire to be able to grow. I want Bonaire to be able to develop. I just don't want that to happen at the expense of the nature we have on the island. So when we're talking about biodiversity conservation, we're talking about measures that we need to have in place to protect our reefs, to protect our mangrove forests. But those measures not only protect biodiversity, they protect us as well. Having healthy reefs means you have a carbon sink. Having healthy reefs means you have wave breakers. Having healthy mangroves protects your coastline. And we no longer have the luxury of pretending that climate change isn't happening. We no longer have the luxury of pretending that storms aren't becoming more frequent and aren't becoming stronger. By making sure that we are putting in our little help, we are helping these systems to be able to thrive and to be able to persist, they will help us in return. So not only do we then have something to market and also something to present to our visitors, we have something that helps protect those same investments that we're all making. If you take a look at Bonaire's coastline, you will see there's been a massive expansion and development along the coastline. All of these buildings that are close to the coast, close to shore, are very, very vulnerable. It would not take a Hurricane Irma event for us to feel the impact. But by investing and making sure that we are protecting our ecosystems, protecting nature, they will pay us back and help us in return. We also talked about fisheries. Fish need healthy reefs. If there's no healthy reefs, there's no fish. And if there's no fish, I definitely know I like my piscacora. I don't know about the rest of you. So it takes all of us to be able to get there. So what I would like for you to think about during this day and also as we're moving forward is, what does nature inclusive tourism look like to you and how do we get there? Promise I'd make it fast, so that it was very fast.
Thank you very much. So, everybody, this was the last presentation that we had before our lunch break. Our lunch break will last until 2 p.m. So, please go enjoy your lunch, but make sure that you are back in those seats by 2 p.m. Okay? Enjoy your lunch.